They didn't just spill punch on my dress. They ripped it apart, threw food at me, and live-streamed my humiliation to thousands while chanting "Broke Girl." I stood there, mascara running, dress torn, completely destroyed in front of everyone. But what they didn't know, I owned their entire world. If you love stories about karma hitting bullies where it hurts most, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Trust me, this twist will blow your mind. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we're diving deep into a story that proves you should never judge a book by its cover. My name is Alexa, and what I'm about to tell you happened during my final semester at Westfield University. I was 22, supposedly just another broke college student scraping by on scholarships and part-time jobs. At least that's what everyone believed, and I made sure they believed it. See, I had been playing this role for almost 4 years. Every morning, I'd wake up in my modest off-campus apartment, throw on my thrift store clothes, grab my worn-out backpack, and head to class looking like I was counting every penny. My classmates saw exactly what I wanted them to see. A quiet girl who worked double shifts at the campus coffee shop, who ate ramen noodles for dinner, who couldn't afford the latest iPhone or designer clothes that seemed to be the currency of social acceptance at our prestigious university. But here's the thing they didn't know. And this is where the story gets interesting. My last name wasn't really what appeared on the class roster. My father is Jonathan Morrison, CEO of Morrison Tech Industries. You might have heard of it. We develop the software that runs half the apps on your phone. Our family's net worth? Let's just say it has more zeros than most people see in their lifetime. So why was I pretending to be broke? Call it a social experiment, call it curiosity, or maybe call it the desire to see how people really behave when they think you have nothing they want. My parents thought I was crazy when I proposed this idea for my senior year, but they understood. They had both come from humble beginnings and knew the value of understanding human nature from every angle. What I discovered was both fascinating and disturbing. The way people treated me when they thought I was struggling financially revealed everything about their character. Some students were genuinely kind, offering help with textbooks or inviting me to free campus events. These people became my real friends. But others? Others showed me the ugliest side of human nature. That's where Brittany, Chase, and Megan come into the picture. Brittany was 23, the unofficial queen of our social hierarchy. Blonde, beautiful, and backed by daddy's oil money, she ruled the campus social scene with an iron fist wrapped in designer gloves. Her boyfriend Chase was 24, a business major whose family owned a chain of luxury hotels. He was the kind of guy who wore his wealth like a badge of honor, constantly name-dropping expensive restaurants and vacation destinations. Then there was Megan, 22, Brittany's loyal sidekick who did all the dirty work in exchange for scraps of social acceptance. These three had made my life miserable for months. It started small, snide comments about my clothes, jokes about my work schedule, deliberately excluding me from group projects. But as the year progressed, their behavior escalated. They'd knock my books out of my hands in the hallway, spread rumors about me being too poor to shower regularly, and once even took photos of me during my coffee shop shift and posted them online with cruel captions. I endured it all, taking mental notes, studying their behavior patterns. I was particularly interested in how other students reacted, how some joined in to avoid becoming targets themselves, while others simply looked away. It was like watching a real-time case study in social dynamics and mob mentality. Then came the announcement about senior formal. Every spring, Westfield University hosted an elaborate formal dance for graduating seniors. This year's theme was Diamond Dreams, and the event was held at the city's most exclusive hotel ballroom. For most students, it was the culmination of their college experience, a chance to dress up, celebrate, and create one final memory before entering the real world. I decided I wanted to experience it. Not as the billionaire's daughter I really was, but as Alexa, the broke college student. I wanted to see how it felt to attend a normal college formal, to dance to cheesy pop songs, to take awkward group photos, to be just another face in the crowd. I bought a simple purple dress from a department store, nothing fancy, but it was pretty and made me feel confident. I planned to go alone, which wasn't unusual since I had kept my social circle deliberately small. I was genuinely excited. After 4 years of playing this role, I had become genuinely attached to the experience of being a regular college student. But Brittany and her crew saw my excitement as an opportunity. The week before the formal, I overheard them talking in the library. They didn't see me shelving books nearby. The invisible broke girl wasn't worth noticing after all. Brittany was explaining her plan to her friends, and what I heard made my blood run cold. "It'll be perfect," she whispered, her voice dripping with malicious glee. "Everyone will be there. Everyone will be filming. We'll wait until the perfect moment and then completely destroy her. I want her to remember this night forever." Chase laughed, the sound making my skin crawl. "What did you have in mind?" "Oh, I have ideas. Let's just say her little thrift store dress won't survive the night. I should have backed out. I should have stayed home, avoided the whole situation. But something in me refused to be intimidated. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was curiosity about how far they would actually go, or maybe I just wanted to see their faces when the truth eventually came out. So I stuck to my plan. The hotel ballroom looked like something out of a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing lights across the room, and the theme had been executed perfectly with silver and white decorations that sparkled like diamonds. Students filled the space in their formal wear, and for a moment, I felt a genuine pang of sadness that this would be my last college event. I arrived alone, as planned, wearing my simple purple dress and the small diamond earrings that were the only hint of my real identity, though they looked like good costume jewelry to anyone who didn't know better. I felt pretty, confident, and ready to enjoy the evening. That confidence lasted about 15 minutes. Brittany arrived like she was walking a red carpet, wearing a gold dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. Chase was beside her in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, and Megan floated behind them in a silver gown that caught the light with every movement. They commanded attention the moment they walked in, and I watched as other students automatically moved aside to let them pass. I tried to stay out of their way, positioning myself near the refreshment table and enjoying the music. For a while it worked. I even danced a little by myself, caught up in the magic of the evening despite everything. But then Chase approached me. "Well, well," he said, his voice carrying that familiar mocking tone. "Look who decided to show up. Did you save up your coffee shop tips to afford the ticket? I should have walked away. I should have seen what was coming, but I was tired of running from them, tired of being afraid. So I stood my ground. I'm just here to dance and have a good time, Chase. Just like everyone else." He laughed, but there was nothing funny about the sound. "Oh, you're going to have a time, all right? Hey, you know what? I'm feeling generous tonight. How about a dance? I feel sorry for you standing here all alone." Before I could refuse, he grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the center of the dance floor. The music was slow, romantic, and under different circumstances it might have been nice, but I could see Brittany and Megan positioning themselves nearby, and I knew this wasn't kindness. "You know," Chase said as we swayed to the music, "I almost admire your determination. Coming here, pretending you belong. It's almost inspiring." "I do belong here," I said quietly. "I'm a student just like everyone else." "Are you, though?" His grip on my hand tightened. "Because from where I'm standing, you're just a charity case who somehow slipped through the cracks." That's when he gave the signal. It happened so fast that for a moment, I couldn't process what was occurring. Brittany appeared beside us holding a glass of red punch, and before I could react, she had thrown the entire contents directly at my chest. The cold liquid soaked through my dress instantly, staining the purple fabric a muddy brown color. I gasped, stepping backward, but Megan was already there, grabbing the shoulder strap of my dress and yanking hard enough that the fabric tore with a horrible ripping sound. "Oops!" Brittany said in a voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Sorry about that. Maybe you can get another dress from the clearance rack." The music hadn't stopped, but everyone around us had. Phones were already out, recording, as I stood there dripping and trying to hold up my torn dress. But they weren't done. Chase grabbed his own drink, something sticky and sweet, and poured it over my head. The liquid ran down my face, mixing with my makeup and creating dark streaks down my cheeks. Megan, emboldened by the crowd's reaction, reached for the appetizer table and started throwing small sandwiches and canapés at me. "Look at the broke girl crying," she shouted, her voice carrying across the now silent ballroom. "Should we start a GoFundMe?" That's when the chanting started. "Broke girl, broke girl." It began with just the three of them, but other students, people I had sat next to in classes, people I had served coffee to, began to join in. Someone started live streaming the whole thing on Instagram with hashtags like #BrokeGirlFormal and #ScholarshipShame. Brittany wasn't finished. She pushed me toward the center of the dance floor, where the lights were brightest and everyone could see. Then, with a vicious smile, she grabbed my other shoulder strap and ripped it clean off, leaving me desperately clutching the front of my dress to maintain some semblance of dignity. I stood there, completely surrounded, soaked in punch and sticky drinks, food in my hair, my dress torn and stained beyond repair. The crowd had formed a circle around me, and every single person had their phone out. The live stream comments were pouring in. Thousands of people were watching my humiliation in real time, adding their own cruel observations to the digital pile-on. For a moment, I felt genuinely broken, not because of the dress or the mess or even the humiliation, but because of how quickly people had turned into a mob, how eager they were to participate in someone else's pain, how entertainment had trumped basic human decency. But then something shifted inside me. As I stood there, dripping and torn and completely destroyed, I remembered who I really was. And I realized that this moment, this exact moment, was going to be the most expensive mistake these people ever made. I looked up at Brittany, who was still recording on her phone, her face glowing with triumph. I looked at Chase, who was high-fiving his fraternity brothers. I looked at Megan, who was posing for selfies with my destruction in the background, and I smiled. "Excuse me," I said quietly, my voice somehow carrying despite the chaos around me. "I need to make a phone call." The crowd parted as I walked toward the exit, still clutching my ruined dress, leaving a trail of sticky footprints on the marble floor. Behind me, I could hear Brittany's voice, sharp with irritation. "Where do you think you're going? We're not done with you yet." But I didn't turn around. I walked straight to the hotel lobby, found a quiet corner, and pulled out my phone. Not the old, cracked iPhone I usually carried, but the newest model that I kept hidden for emergencies. My father answered on the first ring. "Alexa? What's wrong?" "Dad," I said, and my voice was steady now, calm and clear. "It's time. Send the car, and Dad, bring the red dress." There was a pause, and then my father's voice, filled with understanding and just a hint of anticipation. "How many people saw this happen?" I glanced at my phone, checking the live stream that was still broadcasting my humiliation. "About 50,000 and counting. It's viral." "Perfect," he said. "We'll be there in 20 minutes." I ended the call and walked to the hotel bathroom, where I cleaned myself up as much as possible. I washed the sticky drinks from my hair, fixed my makeup, and stared at myself in the mirror. The girl looking back at me wasn't the broken college student everyone expected to see. She was Alexa Morrison, daughter of one of the most powerful men in the tech industry, and she was about to remind everyone exactly what that meant. 20 minutes later, a black Rolls-Royce pulled up to the hotel entrance. My father's assistant, Marcus, walked into the ballroom wearing an expensive suit and carrying an iPad. The formal was still in full swing. Apparently destroying someone's life was just a minor interruption to the evening's festivities. Brittany and her crew were holding court near the dance floor, still riding high on their victory, still showing people the videos they had taken. Marcus walked directly to the dean, who was chaperoning the event, and handed him the iPad. I watched from the doorway as Dean Harrison's face went completely white. His hands actually shook as he read whatever was on the screen. Then he walked to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice cracked slightly, and he cleared his throat before continuing. "I need to make an important announcement. It seems we have a very special guest with us tonight." The room quieted. Sensing something significant was happening, Brittany looked annoyed at having her spotlight stolen. Please welcome Miss Alexa Morrison, daughter of Morrison Tech Industries CEO Jonathan Morrison, and one of our most distinguished students. The silence that followed was deafening. I could see people frantically Googling on their phones, their faces changing as they realized what Morrison Tech Industries was, what it meant, how much money we were talking about. But I wasn't done yet. I walked into the ballroom wearing the red dress my father had brought, a custom designer gown that cost more than most people's cars. My hair and makeup had been professionally touched up in the car. I looked like I belonged on a red carpet, which, in a way, I did. The crowd parted as I walked through, and I could see the exact moment when understanding hit different people. The gasps, the whispered, "Oh my gods," the sound of phones hitting the floor as people realized what they had just witnessed, what they had participated in. But it was the looks on Brittany, Chase, and Megan's faces that I'll never forget. Brittany had gone completely pale, her golden tan looking sickly under the ballroom lights. Chase was staring at me with his mouth literally hanging open. And Megan? Megan looked like she was about to faint. Because they weren't just realizing that I was rich, they were realizing that they were ruined. See, here's what they didn't know about the Morrison family business. We didn't just develop software, we had investments, partnerships, and contracts that touched almost every major company in the state, including the ones their families depended on. Brittany's father worked in oil, but his company's drilling operations relied on Morrison Tech's geological software. Chase's family hotel chain used our reservation systems and customer management platforms. And Megan? Her graduate school scholarship came from the Morrison Foundation, the charitable organization my family had established to help underprivileged students get advanced degrees. I didn't need to say anything threatening. I didn't need to make demands or issue ultimatums. My presence alone had shifted every power dynamic in that room, but the real reckoning was still to come. I spent the rest of the evening dancing, laughing, and enjoying myself, not as revenge, but because I genuinely wanted to experience my senior formal. Other students approached me tentatively, some to apologize, others just to talk. The live stream that had been broadcasting my humiliation was still running, but now it was showing something very different. It was showing the girl they had destroyed rising like a phoenix, more powerful than any of them had imagined. The real consequences started Monday morning. Brittany's father got a call from his corporate headquarters. There had been a reorganization, and his position was being transferred to a smaller office in North Dakota. Not fired, the Morrison family doesn't operate that way, but definitely demoted. Chase discovered that his internship applications to major hotel chains had been mysteriously rejected. The family connections that had always opened doors for him suddenly seemed to have dried up. And Megan? She received a letter informing her that her graduate school scholarship was under review due to character concerns raised by the selection committee. But here's the thing that surprised me most. None of this was revenge that I had orchestrated. Word had gotten out about what happened at the formal, not just through social media, but through the network of wealthy families whose children attended Westfield. And apparently nobody wanted to be associated with people who would publicly humiliate someone they thought was defenseless. The weeks following the formal were surreal. The story had gone viral in ways I never could have anticipated. The live stream had been saved and reposted thousands of times, but now it was being shared with a very different narrative, not as entertainment, but as an example of bullying and its consequences. I found myself becoming an accidental spokesperson for treating people with dignity, regardless of their perceived social status. Interview requests poured in, though I turned most of them down. I wasn't interested in fame. I was interested in the conversations the incident had started. The most surprising part was what happened with Brittany, Chase, and Megan themselves. About 3 weeks after the formal, Brittany approached me after our economics class. She looked different, smaller somehow, less sure of herself. Her usual designer outfit had been replaced with simple jeans and a sweater. "Alexa," she said quietly, "can we talk?" We sat on a bench outside the academic building, and for the first time in our 4 years at the same school, Brittany spoke to me like I was a real person. "I know what I did was horrible," she said, not making excuses, not trying to minimize it. "I've been thinking about it every day since it happened. I keep asking myself what kind of person I became, how I thought that was okay." She paused, staring at her hands. "My dad got transferred because of this, and part of me was angry at first. But then I realized something. He raised me to think that money made me better than other people, that it gave me the right to treat people however I wanted. And now we're both learning that's not how the world works." Chase's apology came a few days later. He was more emotional than I expected, actually crying as he talked about how ashamed he was of his behavior. He had started volunteering at a homeless shelter, he told me, trying to understand what it really meant to struggle. Megan was the last to approach me, and her conversation was the most complex. She had always been the follower, she explained, so desperate to belong to something that she had lost sight of who she wanted to be. Her scholarship situation had been resolved. The Morrison Foundation had decided to keep her funding, but required her to complete a year of community service focused on anti-bullying programs. As my final semester wound down, I found myself reflecting on the entire experience. The 4 years I had spent pretending to be someone else had taught me more about human nature than any business school course ever could. I learned that money doesn't make you a better person, but it can make you a more dangerous one. I learned that cruelty often comes from insecurity, and that people who feel powerless will sometimes try to gain power by making others feel even more powerless. I learned that bystanders can be just as harmful as bullies when they choose entertainment over intervention, but I also learned that people can change, that sometimes it takes a dramatic wake-up call to make someone examine their behavior and choose to be better. That genuine remorse looks different from strategic apology, and that real change happens slowly, through consistent actions rather than grand gestures. The formal incident had started conversations across campus about social hierarchies, about how we treat people based on our assumptions about their backgrounds, about the responsibility that comes with privilege. Some professors even incorporated discussions about the event into their curricula, using it as a case study in social dynamics and ethics. As for me, I finished my degree as myself, as Alexa Morrison, not the character I had created. Some people treated me differently once they knew who I really was, but the friends who had valued me before the revelation remained true. Those relationships, built on genuine connection rather than social status, became the foundation for everything that followed. I graduated with highest honors, not because of my family's donations to the university, but because the experience of living as someone else had given me insights and perspectives that enriched every aspect of my education. The story didn't end with dramatic revenge or poetic justice. It ended with something more valuable: understanding. Understanding of how privilege works, how cruelty spreads, how people can choose to be better than their worst moments. Brittany eventually became a social worker, dedicating her life to helping families in crisis. Chase took over a small family business instead of pursuing the corporate empire he had always been destined for, and he seemed genuinely happier. Megan completed her community service and went on to become a counselor specializing in helping young people navigate social pressures. As for the viral video of my humiliation and revelation, it's still out there, still being shared and discussed, but now it's being used as an educational tool, a conversation starter about empathy and human dignity. Schools show it to students as part of anti-bullying programs. Companies use it in diversity and inclusion training. The night I thought would be my worst became the catalyst for conversations that needed to happen, changes that needed to be made, growth that needed to occur. Not just for the people who hurt me, but for everyone who witnessed it and had to examine their own role in systems of cruelty and exclusion. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to get revenge. It's to show people who you really are and let that truth transform everything around you. That's the story of how my senior formal became a viral sensation, how my humiliation became my empowerment, and how pretending to be powerless taught me what real power actually means. That night changed everything, not just for me, but for everyone who witnessed it. The real lesson wasn't about money or power, it was about treating people with dignity. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more real stories about standing up for yourself. And remember, you never know who you're really dealing with, so choose kindness every single time. Because the person you dismiss today might just surprise you tomorrow.